Today's topic is module 4. We'll discuss about the layer 3 configuration. So what happens in the layer 3 configuration? Layer 3 configuration will discuss about what exactly a routing can be done at the layer 3. Say here on the Palo Alto firewall you have something known as a virtual router. Okay, what is virtual router? Do you guys have any idea what is virtual router? Guys, please turn off your mic. What is virtual router? Say when you talk about the virtual router is a kind of the segregation of the routing table. On the Palo Alto firewall, you don't have the global routing table. There is no global routing table. No global routing table. No global routing table. Now, if you don't have a global routing table, then how will you create the routing? To make a routing, okay, it's like VRF, correct? Similar, okay, similar to your VRF. Like if you talk about the VRF, it's quite similar, okay, to your VRF. Like you can say like virtual router. Virtual router is quite similar to your VRF concept. But in VRF, you guys can go, configure the inter VRF routing also. But on this virtual router, you won't have the, a kind of inter virtual routing. No, it's not possible. Okay. So virtual router should be defined to define a routing. So virtual router is required for routing. You need to allocate interfaces to virtual router for communication. You have to allocate the interfaces. Let's say, for example, what is the virtual router here? The name is given as A, virtual router A. And inside the virtual router A, do you see how many interfaces are there? 9, 10, and 11. These are the two virtual routers over here. Right. So these two virtual routers are configured under the, these three interfaces are configured under the virtual router A. So when you say virtual router A, it means these three interfaces can communicate with each other if you have a routing. Now, if the condition is like this, you have one more virtual router, right? And here I have the other interfaces. See, on the same firewall, I created another virtual router, and the interface here it is E1/8. And here it is E1/9. E1/9. Here you have the another virtual router. We call it as a virtual router B. I have this separate virtual router. And how many interfaces have I allocated in this virtual router? 2 interfaces. 1/8. Allocated 1/8 and 1/9. It means they can communicate only with each other. Means these two interfaces can communicate with each other. If you defined routing, so from the one zone to another zone, you can communicate. These two interfaces, in the sense, what I'm talking is, let's say this is my LAN 1 and this is my WAN 1. So basically, this is my WAN 2, you can say. From here to here, I'm able to communicate. Now, do you think like you'll be able to communicate within the E1/8 to the E1/9? If I want to communicate with E1/8 to E1/9, or sorry, wait. Let's assume this is not a 9, it's okay, 8, 9, 10 is there, right? So let's make it as a 7 over here. Let's say this is 7. Now, this is A1/7. Now, do you think like from 8 to 9, you will be able to communicate? From LAN 1 zone to LAN zone, will you be able to communicate? From WAN 2 zone to the any DMZ zone or something like that, will you be able to communicate? Yes or no? No, even though you have a route, you won't be able to communicate. Why? Because they belong to two different segregated routing tables. These are totally segregated with each other. Route for each other means how? What will be the gateway? What will be the gateway? Like, see, if you are communicating in this way via internet to this interface, that's a different thing. You're getting my point. You're communicating through the internet, it's connected to the internet, and through the internet like this you are communicating, it's a different thing. From one virtual router to another virtual router, you are communicating via internet, it's a different thing. But internally it's not possible to communicate with the one interface to another interface. Now this virtual router means it's like a VRF. It means the routes under this particular VRF will be only reflected for these interfaces which are the part of virtual router A. If the interfaces are the part of virtual router B, then the interfaces or the zones related to virtual router B will not be able to communicate directly with the virtual router A, because they are the two different routing tables. Okay, so whatever the interfaces you have, you can communicate with each other, and whatever the interfaces you have under the virtual router B, they can communicate with each other. They all are segregated. So as a result, in Palo Alto firewall, you guys need to define the virtual router. Without virtual router, the communication between the zones will not be possible. The routing only can be done based on the virtual router. And it depends like how many virtual router you are creating and how many interfaces you will be allocating to the particular virtual router. Like two different contexts on the same appliance. Yes, you can say two different contexts, or you can say like two different VRFs on the same appliance. So it's just like, you know, it's a two different routing tables on the same appliance, and you are trying to communicate with only within that virtual router. Means you cannot make the communication between these two virtual routers. Okay, so why do we need a segregation of routing table? What is the benefit over here? So I don't need to purchase another firewall. Okay, if I want to segregate the routings, if I want to, you know, define the different routes over here, so you can easily do it. Okay. So I hope virtual router concept is clear to everyone. Online guys?
Yes, sir.
Fine. Now where exactly in the packet flow your virtual router will come into the picture is, whenever the packet has to be, you know, initially when the packet will be processed, it will check the packet is coming from which source to which destination zone.
Hello, sir.
Yep.
Sir, I have one question.
Yep.
So, if you want to communicate with two different interface,
Yes.
so what do you look into?
If you want to communicate with two different interfaces,
Yes, sir. Which are different VRF.
if they are in the same virtual router, they will communicate. Okay. Then you can communicate between the two zones. If you have a routing, if you have the policy, you can communicate. Okay. But if you have the interfaces in a two different virtual routers, then it would not be possible. Did you
Can,
get your answer?
yes, yes. Sir. Can we create one virtual router in different two virtual router?
Say these two interfaces communication will happen only with the virtual router B.
Yes, sir.
These three interfaces communication will happen only with the virtual router A.
Yes, sir.
Different routing tables are this.
No, sir. I'm saying router A have four interface.
Okay, router A has three interfaces. Okay, four interfaces, whatever it is.
So
Okay.
the two interface connectivity each other, two different connectivity with each other.
You mean like within a virtual router, you want to
Yes, sir.
communicate within these interfaces?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, this would be possible. Okay, this would be possible. Like if I want to communicate from the LAN zone to WAN zone or from LAN zone to DMZ zone, this will be possible because they belong to the same virtual router. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay, now let's move to packet flow. So basically, if you have a routing, then only the packet will be processed, and finally, while exiting the packet to the interface, egress interface, the packet, your translation will be applied and the packet will be forwarded. But if you don't have a routing, the packet will be dropped. Understand? Now, uh, this is information about the interface management profile. You guys can take a note. What is interface management profile? Write about it. Interface management profile is used to enable the services at the data interface. Always remember, interface management profile is used to enable the services at the data interfaces. And where do you find the interface management profile? It's under the network. Under the network, you guys will find the network profiles. You'll find the interface management and the add option. Here it's written restricts administrative access to a specific IP address. Now, let's say for example, when we discuss about the Palo Alto firewall, let's say for example, as we discussed before, only at the management interface, let's say here we have the management interface, okay? Only at the management interface, we have the access for HTTPS, HTTPS, ICMP, I mean like ping and the SSH. At the management interface, three services are enabled, right? These three services are HTTPS that we have already seen. We have SSH and ping. These three services are present at the management interface by default. But coming to the other interfaces, which are your LAN interfaces, I mean like which are your data interfaces like LAN, WAN, or DMZ, whatever the interfaces you have. At these interfaces, how many services are enabled by default? How many services are present at the data interfaces by default? Correct. Answer is 0. None of the services are enabled at the data interfaces by default. You guys can write it. By default on the data interface, None of the services are enabled. Only at the management interface, HTTPS, SSH, or ping are enabled by default. Now I want two services. My requirement is, understand, requirement at your LAN interface, I need HTTPS and ping to be allowed. At the DMZ interface, I need only ping to be enabled. Okay, and at the WAN interface also I need only the ping to be enabled. So in that case, how will you enable such type of selected type of services? Okay, in future I might say at the ping, at the DMZ disable ping. So don't you think, like, if I have a different profiles, if I have a different profiles for the LAN, different profile for the DMZ, and different profile for the WAN. So I'll create a, what do I need to create? Interface and management profile. So I'll create the interface management profile for LAN, DMZ, and we'll also create for the WAN. These profiles will be enabling. Here we'll give the name as LAN underscore profile. Okay. In the same way, we'll be enabling the, we'll give some name. This is DMZ profile, and we'll give WAN profile. Now, in this way, we'll be applying all these profiles individually to the individual interfaces. The benefit of having the individual profiles is you can enable the selected services, individual services for the individual interfaces. This is the benefit. You have to make management interface. What does it mean? By default, you have a management interface, right? I hope you mean if the LAN interface you want to make it to work like a management interface. Yes, you can. You can make it. If you enable the HTTPS, you can get the firewall access to the LAN zone, right? So see, the cases can be anything, right? Now I can assign the different profiles for the different types of zones. I mean, like different types of interfaces. But is it possible, like if I create a single profile, if I create a single profile, okay, and that single profile, if I apply it to the all the interfaces, is it possible? If I create a single profile, okay, and that single profile, if I apply to all the interfaces, is it possible? Yeah, it's possible. See, I can create a single profile. I would say I'll create a single profile and I will apply it to all interfaces. See, this is possible. Yes, yes, possible. But the problem where you'll get issue is no individual, no individual. The policies will no individual policies. No individual policies. You want to have the individual policies. Now let's say whatever the, let's say if you'll enable ping, it will be enabled for all the interfaces. If you enable SSH, it will be enabled for all the interfaces. If you enable HTTPS, it will be enabled for the all interfaces. Okay, this will be the disadvantage. So I'll recommend you guys to go with a different individual profiles for each and every zones or the interfaces. So I hope you guys understood what is the meaning of the interface management profile over here. Okay, now write the another topic. Take a note of another topic. Another topic is service routes. Another topic is service routes. What is service routes? Just like, see, this is separate topic which I'm discussing. See, three things we are in the third topic. First topic I discussed about virtual router. It was a separate thing. Second thing I discussed about the interface management profile. Now the third thing I'm going to discuss about the service routes. Where do you find the service routes? You'll find it under the device setup and services. Take a look. You'll find it under the device setup and services. Okay. Now, what is service route configuration over here? Understand. Can you see here the option as a use management interface for all? Or can you see the select option? You have two options. Either you use a management interface for all these services. Services like whenever the syslog will be generated, it should only receive the syslog information from the management interface. Means whatever you see the informations over here, like URL updates, okay, SN files, SNMP radius, okay, palo alto updates, NTP synchronization, NetFlow, email, DNS, everything is by default used by which interfaces? By which interface by default? It will be by default, use default, use default. Can you see all the options as a default? It means it will be by default using the management. Now, a single interface used for the multiple tasks, or else, do you think like you'll be putting the management interface, you'll be associating your management interface with the public zone? Mostly we don't do. We don't put the management interface into the public zone. I mean like connectivity with the internet for security reasons. Now I want to receive the update from the WAN zone. My WAN zone, my interface, one of the interface of the Palo Alto firewall is already connected with the internet, right? So in our, free time, or let's say the time which is not the peak hour for our Palo Alto firewall. I mean like your corporate network peak time is 10 to 5. Let's say it's 10 to 5 is the peak hour for you, working hour. Now, apart from this time, might be the mid of your night or anything else, you'll be scheduling the URL update or something. So what you want, instead of the management interface, you want to allocate the WAN interface over here to receive the updates somewhere, right? By default, all these services will be associated with management interface, but you want to change the default value to some other interface to receive the updates from the outside interface, to synchronize the NTP from the outside interface, to receive the DNS information from the outside interface, syslog information from the management interface, wildfire information from the management interface or the outside interface. So basically you want to, give the responsibility to the other interfaces also. Can I use the other interfaces for such things? Yes, you can. So basically by default, the management interface will be used for all the services. But if I want, I can, I can make a different interface to be used for these services. So basically, whenever if I make, let's say for example, if I say syslog information should be received by the management interface. By default, it will be associated with management, right? Now, if I want like NTP synchronization to be done, let's say for example, your NTP server is somewhere else in the India or somewhere else in US or something else. Your management interface is not connected with the internet, and your outside WAN interface is connected with the internet. Okay, so okay, just 2 minutes, just 2 minutes. Okay, guys, just give me 2 minutes. Synchronization purpose, I can, right, I can select this option. I can go with the custom option. I can select the interface over here and select the WAN interface for the NTP synchronization. So in this way, you can divide the responsibility of the management interface. You can put it to the different interfaces. Okay, that's what the meaning of service routes is. So today we understood three different things. We understood what is virtual router. We understood what is interface management profile, and we also understood the service routes over here. Okay. Now, can I make a firewall to work like a DHCP server for each interface? Okay. So basically, you can configure three interfaces for the DHCP. So the interface you can configure for the DHCP. Your firewall can also act like a DHCP. So you guys can define the interface which you want, what will be the gateway, what will be the primary DNS. Okay, all the informations you can define over here. You can define the subnet as well. Okay, so basically for the particular zone you can configure the individual DHCP server on the Palo Alto firewall. Now for LAN you want to define the separate, for DMZ you want to define the separate DMZ server. Yeah, it's possible. Or else, you understand what is DHCP relay? What is DHCP relay? Means your DHCP server is somewhere else on behalf of the client. Okay, whenever the client will be requesting for the DHCP server via some mediator in between. So relay will be requesting your request to the DHCP server to receive the IP address on the client. So client is not directly connected to your DHCP environment. Okay, in between you need a agent. Correct. Okay. So basically your Palo Alto firewall can act like a DHCP server, also can act like a DHCP relay. Okay, agent. Okay, now how to configure a virtual router or how to configure the, like services. Okay, those things we'll see practically. Okay, now another information. Take a note, routing protocols. Your Palo Alto firewall supports multicast, supports BGP, supports OSPF version 3. These all are the open standard protocols. These are the open standard protocols. None of them are the proprietary over here. You can go with RAPE, you can go with the OSPF version 3, BGP, multicast. Okay. Also, you can define the static route, or you can define the redistribution. So all these things will be defined. You can go for it. Now it's an open standard, but if you see the history of EIGRP was basically the proprietary of Cisco, right? Earlier it was a proprietary. So why the other vendors will not use the proprietary of others. Earlier it was a proprietary, but now it's not a proprietary, but still the other vendors are not giving value to EIGRP. They are not mentioning EIGRP. Some ego type of you can think in that way. Okay, why should I use the another protocol? But basically I can see even on this Cisco device, if you go, okay, Like FTD, you will go. FTD, if you check, even on the FTD, they have not mentioned EIGRP. Being a Cisco device itself, they are not using EIGRP. They have not mentioned EIGRP on the FTD. It does not mean like, they want, they can put the EIGRP, but still right now they are not, including the EIGRP on the Palo Alto devices. See, slowly you will see as an interior gateway routing protocols like vSphere, RIP, okay, or such type of things will only be used. Okay. Basically, when you see the other vendors, right, definitely you'll get all the protocols except EIGRP for sure. Okay. So now you can create a policy based forwarding PBF, okay, and to define the PBF policy based forwarding, a kind of ACL configuration on your Palo Alto firewall, which overrides your default policy, or it can override your security policy. So in the packet flow, I hope you guys have seen this. If your packet flow says like, if I can go from the source zone to destination zone, in between, if your PBF is enabled, it can override your policy. So basically the destination will not matter over here. This destination will be overridden by your PBF. Okay. So in PBF, what are the things will be checked? In PBF, you will see source address, source zone, user, destination address, destination application, and the destination service port. This will only be checked. Due to these informations in the PBF, it will be overriding your security policy. If PBF is present, it will override your security policy. Okay. After this, next topic you'll have the NAT. NAT will discuss in next topic, means next day. Okay, but today we'll do the lab. Entire lab setup will be done. Earlier we had done the lab setup only for the management interface, right? Today we'll put in LAN, WAN, DMZ. We'll allocate the virtual router. We'll create the virtual router. We'll allocate the interfaces. Okay, and after that we'll define the interface management profile, and we'll see the service routers as well. Okay, so whatever the topics we have discussed, we are going to see it practically now. Any questions till this point, guys? Okay, so let's move now. I'll be connecting to my server. Okay, so I hope you guys know. Guys, now our your lab access is stable. So whoever needs access to the lab, you please let me know. Earlier there was an issue, like sometimes you were getting access and sometimes not getting access. There was an internet or some type of issues were there, power issues were there. Now it's everything is rectified. You can do lab at your home, but you should have a sufficient resources with you, right? Like you should have at least 16 GB of RAM to perform the Palo Alto lab. If you have, you can. Okay. For entire lab, can you guys please open your topology? Check your topologies. So this is your logical topology, right? Those who don't have, please take a screenshot. Let me open it. Yeah, please take a screenshot. Okay. So what we are going to do is we'll take the admin PC, we'll take a client, one candidate, client PC over here, we'll take an internet access, and we'll take a DMZ server over here. Okay. So on the firewall, four interfaces will be configured: management, LAN, WAN, and DMZ. So please take a note of interfaces that I have taken over here. E1/1 for the LAN, E1/3 for the WAN, and E1/2 for the DMZ. For the LAN zone, what is the subnet? 10.11.11.0. For DMZ zone, what is the subnet? 192.168.30.0/24. And for WAN zone, what do we have the subnet? 172.16.3.0/24. And my WAN gateway will be, take a note, my WAN gateway is 2.54. So whenever I internet connectivity on the Palo Alto firewall, I need to define the default route towards the gateway as a 254. You can assume defining a default route towards the ISP. Okay, so let us connect over here. I'll take admin PC. Okay, before you use any lab, just check out whether you have a sufficient RAM with you or not. If any virtual devices are running, you can turn off, say shut down, or you can suspend it. Now I took admin PC, test PC, Palo Alto firewall, which I configured for the new batch. Okay, I'll just say power it on, power on, power on. I'll take a DMZ router, which will act like a DMZ server over here. Let all the devices get started. You need to ping me, okay? You need to tell me like what time you'll be taking access, so accordingly I can give you, okay? It's not like today you'll tell I'll remember it till Saturday, Sunday. It won't be like that. It's not responding. Just wait for a few minutes, it will come up. Still, VMware is not responding, I guess.
अभी सोच रहा हूँ जल्दी से जल्दी एक्सेस मिले तो फिर अपना solution
Okay. It will take some time to come up because your firewall will take some time to boot. Okay. You guys can see the console from vSphere as well. See, the ESXi version which I have currently is 6.0. Can you see here? Which is accessible only through the client, vSphere client. Okay, but coming to Palo Alto firewall, still booting. It will take some time.
Yeah. Yes. Such quick question as you boot all your appliances. I have small. It just needs small help on workstation. Is it possible I can share my screen? Hello. Hello, Sushil. Can you hear me? Hello.
No, Harsha, wait. Can you speak now?
Yeah, sorry. So as you boot your devices, I just need a small help with my setup. Can I share my screen? Is it possible?
That will do at the end of class. Okay.
Okay, sure. I mean, I already set up the lab. Just need to increase the resolution of the console, and I'm unable to find it anywhere. Yeah, so that's a
Okay.
simple. Yeah, I think it will be a simple fix. Yeah.
Okay, I'll forcefully stop this. VMware workstation is not working. I'll reopen it. Reconnect to the server. It's already linked over here. Okay, got connected. Now I'll bring admin PC, DMZ router, Palo Alto, and test PC. Just wait for a few minutes. Let all these devices come up. Meanwhile, what we can do, we can put the L2 configurations. Our test PC should be configured in LAN zone, right? So just right click on the test PC, and can you see here it's in the LAN VLAN, LAN or inside. Now get into the Palo Alto firewall. The first interface is the management, right? Second interface is, I had given you the note, right? Please note down this interface's details. First interface management. Second interface will be E1/1. Third interface will be E1/2. So basically in our entire lab we'll be using 6 interfaces, and all those interfaces are this. Please take a note. From management to E1/5. And how accordingly you can differentiate on the virtual platform. You can see from here. Okay, all of you taken a note? Okay, so okay, fine. Yeah, you can. Okay, so let's allocate. Now you guys will tell me like the first adapter should I put in which VLAN? See, the first adapter is already with the management, right? The second adapter should be with, come on guys, tell me, should be LAN inside, right? The third adapter should be DMZ, and the fourth adapter should be WAN. Can you see here? Select this one. WAN to, sorry, you can select outside WAN. Can you see here? Select this one. Okay, just match these four interfaces. E1/1 is the second adapter inside the LAN. Second adapter is your,
And when
hold on, second adapter is your E1/2. This is your DMZ. So this is DMZ. And the other interface, E1/3 is your outside or the WAN, right?
mm-hmm. Yeah,
And these
higher well.
other interfaces will use it for a HA purpose later on, not right now. Okay. Make sure these interfaces are showing you connected over here at the power on. All these two options are clicked over here. If it is not connected or it's not checked over here, the interfaces will not work. So make sure these interfaces, when you click, it shows you connected and connected at the power on. Now, all the devices are in the respective VLANs. Let's check only this particular DMZ router. Okay, can you see it's in the DMZ zone? Okay, I mean like DMZ VLAN. Okay, now let me ping from here. Ping. I'm on the admin PC or the management PC. Management PC, right? I should ping the management interface. That's your 103.0.0.254. Okay, I don't see reachability over here. There might be some issue with the IP address. Let's see. Config IP all. Okay, it's the IP config. What is the IP address over here? Okay. It's not in the same subnet. So we need to change the subnet over here. And our management subnet would be 103.0.0. Let's say we'll make it as a .5 or .10, whatever it is, and make the subnet mask as a 24. Okay, now let's ping. Still not having reachability. Let's check the zone or the VLAN. Oh, it's in a different VLAN, right? We need to put in management VLAN. Now let's check. Okay, you do have the connectivity now. Okay. Now let's get a GUI access over here. So I'll say https:// and we'll say 103.0.0.25. Add exception. Okay. Here I'll say username admin. And what was the password, guys? Palo alto, right? Okay, I got the GUI access. Okay, I'll configure the 3 zones. So to configure the zones, you'll take care of a few things. First of all, you'll take care of tag. You'll see tagging. Okay. Second thing you'll take care of zone and type. Third thing you'll take care of IP address object. Fourth thing you'll take care of virtual router. Okay. Fifth thing you'll take care of interface management profile. These things you need to take care to configure interface, or you can say to configure the L3 interface. Write it down clearly. To configure L3 interface, you need to go through all these things. In these few things are optional, like tag is optional. Okay. After that, this is optional and management profile is optional. Okay. If you want the services to be enabled, you can apply it, or else without management profile also it will work. But without the zone, without IP address, and without virtual router, you can't configure it. These are mandatory. So let's start. So first of all, I'll create the tag. You'll come to objects. Under the objects, you will find the tags over here. You'll go to the tag. You'll add the tag. Let's say I want to add a tag for the LAN, and I want to put the color for tag. Let's say, for example, I want to put blue color for the LAN. Other WAN, I'll put it red, and I'll say DMZ. We'll select, let's say, yellow color. Okay, so we have three different types of taggings. Tagging is nothing but it's a kind of verification or the decisions taken based on the colors. So whenever you go for the any policies, when you see the colors, like if you see the color between red and blue, you'll understand it's a policy between WAN to LAN. If you see blue and red, you'll understand it's between LAN and WAN. Okay, so accordingly, based on the colors, you'll differentiate the policies. It will help you to differentiate the policies or to understand the policy. In a real time, these things are mandatory. Now, I'll go to what are the things I have given the 5 steps. I told you to configure tag. Now we'll create a zone and type. So we'll go to the admin PC again. Can you see zones over here? Okay, we'll create a zone. So which zone do you need? You need a LAN zone. Type should be L3. Say okay. Again, I'll create. Which zone? WAN zone. Type as a L3. Third zone will create. That's your DMZ. Type as a L3. Done. What was the third step? We need an IP address. Okay. So it's not like you have to follow the steps in the order only. You can create anything, but while associating all those things with the interface, you should have all these profiles created. Okay. Now go to the objects. Under the objects, you guys will find the addresses. Under the address, you will find, like, I would write here LAN IP, LAN underscore IP. Write the name in such a way so that you can understand the IP address. Okay, it should be meaningful. 10.11.11.10 slash value as a 24 over here. Now we'll put the tag of LAN over here. Now do you see a LAN IP having a tag of blue color? Okay. Now WAN. We'll say WAN IP 172.16.3.48/24. We'll put the WAN. Okay. Now here I would say DMZ 192.168.10. It's 30 dot, I guess. Yeah, it's 30.10/24. Tag as a DMZ. So in this way, you guys can define the objects for the IP addresses. Now, what was the fourth step? Virtual router. You'll come to the virtual router over here. Okay, add. You can see we have a default virtual router, right? You can even use the default virtual router, or else you can create your own custom virtual router. So I'll give a name, custom underscore RTR router. Now, can you see the static route over here? Later on, we'll add the static route. Okay. Right now, just configuring the virtual router. I created one virtual router. Do you see any interfaces associated with this virtual router? No, it's not there. We need to allocate. Now, can you see DHCP option over here? Okay, these things are also present, but currently we are not doing the configuration. Okay, so I can see tag is present, zone is present, with the type, IP address is present, virtual router is present. Now finally we need to configure the interface management profile. So where do you find the interface management profile? Under the network. Under the network profiles, and you will find the management, interface management. Say add, write LAN underscore profile, and I want to enable ping. As of now, only ping. later on we'll add more services. So I would say WAN underscore profile ping, and we'll say DMZ underscore profile, and we'll say ping. 3 services enabled. Now finally we are going to configure this interface. Let's go to the E1/1. E1/1 will be which zone? Tell me guys. E1/1 should be configured as we need to configure interface type as a L3. Now here can you see you do have an option of virtual router. You'll select the custom virtual router. Security zone. Which security zone do you configure it? LAN. IPv4. What address? LAN IP. Advanced. Do you see the advanced option over here? Can you see the management profile? By default, you have none of the profiles attached over here. So you need to select LAN profile. Done. These many things you will be selecting over here. And finally, you will see interface type, LAN management profile, IP address, virtual router. All these things will be present. Now, accordingly, we'll configure E1/2. So E1/2 should be configured as, first of all, interface type L3, virtual router RTR, security zone as a DMZ, IP4 address for the DMZ, advanced, we'll take it as a DMZ profile. Okay, done. And finally, we'll take for the WAN interface. This will be configured as a L3 again. Security zone as a WAN, IPv4 address as a WAN IP, and the profile as a WAN profile. Say okay. Finally, we have configured 3 interfaces, and can you see the link state is showing in the gray color, right? It means your interfaces are not up. Okay, I'll commit now. Commit it. It will turn on to the green color. Once it turns to green, you'll understand your interfaces are up. Let it be saved. Can you see now? See, you have a refresh button over here. Now, can you see all the interfaces has come up? Okay, now let's go to the respective zone devices and we'll try to communicate. Now, if I try to ping 10.11.11.10, my gateway for LAN, am I able to ping? Yes. My base PC, I can assume it as a WAN. So from the outside, I'll be pinging 172.16.3.48. Am I able to ping? Yes. So I'm able to ping from LAN zone, from WAN zone, and I'll try to ping from the DMZ. Let's see our router is configured or not. If not, then we need to configure it. So come to the DMZ router. So IP interface brief. Okay, we do have the interface already configured. Make sure on this device we have configured with the G1 interface. So IP route, can you see the default route configured here towards the DMZ? Okay, will ping a DMZ gateway. What is the DMZ gateway IP, guys? 192.168.30.10. Okay, we do have a reachability. So what did we see? All the zones are reachable now. So basically, you are able to communicate from LAN zone, from the WAN zone, and from the DMZ zone to all the interfaces of your firewall. Now, by default, I told none of the services are enabled, right? Now, for the verification purpose, if I go to the admin PC, and just for the example, under the E1/1 interface, which is your LAN interface, under the advanced, I had given the management profile, right? If I say none, it means none of the services are there now. Okay, and by default it was none only, right? And let me ping from the test PC to my LAN interface. Do you see? Can I ping now? No, you can't ping because by default none of the services are present at your data interface. So to apply the service at the interface, you must configure the management profile. Come to advanced, LAN profile, say okay, commit. Okay, once this is done, now let's go back to the test PC, try pinging, it's working. Did you understand, guys, the initial lab setup? Is it clear to everyone?
Yes.
Okay. So I want all of you guys to set up your initial lab setup. If you guys are having any issues, let me know. I'll help you out. And after that, entire lab you guys can do accordingly. Okay. Okay. Harsha, you were telling about your issue, right? Can you share your screen now?
Yeah,
So that
it was working until yesterday. I powered off my lab and powered it on. Looks like it's a VMware issue. Let me share my screen. I'm trying.
सर एक चीज पूछ रही थी, अगर मान लो किसी का ये ईव ना चल रहा हो तो फिर बिना ईव के हम एसेस कर सकते हैं लैब?
Yes.
हाउ?
See, have I done any lab on the Eve right now? I haven't done, right? It's totally on the ESXi, or you can do it on the VMware. Okay.
Okay, on VMware Pro app, right?
Yes, you can do it on the VMware or ESXi or anything. Not required EV.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Harsha, share me your screen. Yeah, what is the issue?
Let me try. I'm trying to log into my machine. Yeah. So
For all the firewall.
yeah, let me show you. It was working. The entire lab setup was working earlier. It was this morning I couldn't. So
okay, might be you had suspended and you powered it on, and you are trying to immediately log in. So initially, immediate login will not happen.
okay.
You have to wait for a few minutes, and after that, if you log in, it will work out.
Not really. You can look at the screen I'm sharing.
Yeah. Please do it.
Yeah, the data interface network adapter is not same as the management interface. If virtual network adapter is used as data interface, it has to be the same type as management interface. So if I go into management PC, which I used earlier to log in the VM, not the VM like the HTTPS, the interface are able to ping, which means that it's in the same interface on the VM, but this error I'm not able to troubleshoot. Yeah. So I'm trying to understand what it technically means. So earlier I was able to HTTPS and make changes on the VM. So no problem on the Palo Alto anytime before. But it just.
So this you are getting this maintenance error, right?
Yeah. This was today, yes.
After adding the interfaces, you started getting this maintenance error, I guess.
No, it's just it's a it's like sporadic, it's random.
Please power on the firewall first. Power on the firewall.
Okay, it's already powered on.
I'm not able to say it's powered on.
It's already powered on. I will show you. So as you can see, it's already powered on. The only option is that I have to restart the guest or power off it. Or maybe I have to reconfigure from the scratch, probably. Now I can power it on again.
सर पब्लिक नेटवर्क कैसे असेस करेंगे VLAN पे?
Come again.
मैं कह रहा हूँ पब्लिक नेटवर्क कैसे असेस करेंगे VLAN पे? मेरा एक क्वेश्चन है, प्लीज एक बार देखिए चैट में.
See, the entire thing we are going to discuss tomorrow. Okay, about how to do the internet access and how to define the translation and all these things we are going to discuss tomorrow. Okay, this is not a short question that I can answer you in the few minutes. Okay, so tomorrow we'll entirely discuss it and I'll show you how to do it. Okay, guys, please add these numbers in the group as well.
Okay, no issue, sir. Thank you.
Okay, fine. Tomorrow I'll explain you with the lab. Don't worry.
Okay, thank you.
Harsha, you please make everything ready and let me know. Okay, I'll end the class.
It's booting up again, so the issue will probably repeat. Since I haven't made any changes to the existing setup.
You please send me the screenshot, whatever it is. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, please stop your sharing.
Okay.